What's up, boys? Welcome back to SVG Tapes. Got Matt here and Cory's on the channel. We got his is300. You guys have seen a few drifting videos. We haven't really got to talk about it yet. It's finally at a good point in its life. It's running great. We got it tuned. Well, Cory got it tuned. And he is ready to talk about it. So this is going to be the build breakdown on Cory's is300.
Thank you.
The man himself.
It feels like every year we try and do something. I take the car and put it under the knife in like March. Don't get it back to like August. So.
But that's when the most progress happens. That's what you have to do if you're going to really build a car. Like, you can't keep it running and do such big things with it.
Yeah. Last winter was huge for Mike and I to get this thing done. And yeah, this was my first full summer season that I was actually able to enjoy the car. And I only went to one drift event. Most of the other times I went real slow to get ice cream with my fiance and went to see the boys for some cars and coffee events. But honestly, it was nice to take a deep breath and take a step back and look at the car and just see how far we came and just, it's beautiful. I don't want to drift that much anymore. I'd rather just be an old man and get ice cream and go mini golfing.
I feel that so hard, dude. You don't want to mess up when you put so much money and work and time and effort into, dude.
Not saying that there might be one or two events this year that I get a tickle for and maybe go out with them, because it tends to happen when the weather's nice and I see all my friends going out. It's hard for me to say no. So
isn't that more fun when you're with somebody else?
It is.
At the time.
It is.
All right. Well, Cory's gonna take over and show you guys, tell you guys the whole life that this car's been through. It's been through a lot. We went to school together. It's been through school, so I'm just gonna let him take the reins.
Thanks. This is my 2002 Lexus is300. It is a factory 5-speed. I bought it in September of 2018. It had 117,000 miles on it when I bought it. I bought it in New Jersey, and when we went and bought it, I had my eyes set on an IS for a while, and I had a buddy, Mike Smith, who had an is300, and I went to a few of his events and kind of introduced me to the is300 chassis. I'd always known they existed. I'd always liked them, but I'd never been around any of them. So I ended up selling my 350Z, and this was right around the time that I went to Universal Technical Institute with Matt and all the other SVG boys.
Dang.
And I needed a daily, and I didn't want to get something normal, so I went out and I found this thing, and I bought it as my daily. For such low mileage, it needed a lot of love. I overpaid for it. I paid $7,000 for it back in 2018, but it had low miles, and I sort of like going to get a puppy. The first puppy that walks up to you, you want it, and this was like my puppy. I saw it and I thought, this is it. The tires that were on it were probably from 2002. I always like to say they were so dry rot that the cracks in the tires was like a whole new tread pattern, and we drove it the whole way back from Jersey with dry rot tires and a exhaust manifold. There was no exhaust the whole way back. It was open headers. They took a hacksaw and cut the exhaust, so we drove about 2 hours back home with dry rot tires, barely any brakes, and a third of the exhaust. Mike and I's big thing when we do car stuff is we stop at Red Robin, and that was the first time that we had done that. So we have a picture in the parking lot. If you zoom in on the picture, you can see the tires, what I'm talking about. It was sketchy. This thing had purple brake calipers on it that didn't have a parking brake. Fun fact, it actually never has. It still doesn't. I just have a hydro in it now. But when I got it, it didn't have a parking brake. Trying to think of all the problems it had. It had a lot. But when we got it, the first thing we did when we got home was we did a burnout in the driveway, and I ended up putting my Evo 8 BBS wheels on it, and I'm sorry, Evo 9 BBS wheels on it, and put some BC coilovers on it eventually, not too long after that, and put a double DIN head unit in it, and those 3 mods were the only mods the car had for about a year. I daily drove the car to UTI, 120 miles a day, once every 3 days, and the old puppy did it.
That was wild, dude. He drove so much.
This thing was not fun to drive daily at all, but I had a love for it, and I was the only one that liked it out of the 3 people that were in the car. But I loved it. It made it. I went through so many different exhaust setups because
for real, dude.
For whatever reason,
come back every day with a different one.
for some reason it would form an exhaust leak overnight, and I'd put like a new donut gasket in it, and I had like 2 different eBay mufflers on it, because when we were in car school, I would drive home and work at a car dealership for 2 hours and then go home, get paid like $10 an hour or something like that. So I was getting like $20 a day for like a year and a half. Yeah. So do the math, I wasn't making too much money, so I was buying what I could for this thing. And I went through a bunch of eBay mufflers on it, and then finally my buddy Mike Smith, he's a fabricator, he decided to fabricate a nice vibrant muffler on the back, and that ended up being my permanent exhaust setup for the GE car, and that worked out.
I remember that. We have some burnouts of that. Cory likes burnouts.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh my God, when I got this thing, Mike Harrison taught me how to do a burnout in my driveway the day we brought it home. And actually, I'll stand corrected, Nick Rigg taught me how to do a burnout in my Supra, but I never really did one because that thing made like 30 horsepower.
Yeah.
Mike Harrison taught me how to do a standing burnout in my driveway, and I was addicted. I worked at a go-kart track at the time. Like every day leaving work, Mike's brother Kyle would be there. I'd be doing burnouts and donuts and shit, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I mean, that's the other thing I went through is tires and exhaust gaskets. This thing's seen them all. Once I graduated from UTI, I continued driving it, and I actually wanted to sell it. I wanted to get a WRX, that 09 WRX with the IEG
you were really
motor.
serious about that.
My buddy Trevor had an 09 WRX, and as much as we all hate Subarus, I have a soft spot for a Subaru.
Yeah, they sound amazing, right? You can't deny.
My argument was I had just been driving this thing every single day of my life, and through snow, everything. So I wanted something that made more sense in my head, but thank God that guy over there snapped me out of it, and I was like this close. I was actually going to trade this car plus like $4,000 or $5,000 on top for this 09 WRX. I mean, it had low miles, had an IEG motor, but it's still not worth it, in my opinion. I'm glad I didn't do it. That was just the young, dumb, I've had this car for a year, time for a new one part of me, because I mean, I think I can speak for everybody in the room. Once you drive a car for about a year, you're about done. You want something else.
That's honest, yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at.
I don't understand how my parents do it. They're like, I drive this thing for 15 years till it dies. And like,
dude,
dude, I get way too bored. I don't know if it's our short attention span or what.
Yeah.
But I need something new.
But this thing's been the test of time. Once I realized I didn't want to get rid of it, I kept it, and Mike, again, had just started getting back into drifting, and so we had Mike Harrison, Mike Smith, and Zach Mangle, 3 of my best friends, getting into drifting, and they introduced me to Drift Evergreen, and I went up there well before this thing was even a thought of becoming a drift car, and I had the time of my life. Those are some of the best memories I have. I got videos and pictures and just an all-out blast. I mean, Drift Evergreen, circa 2019, whatever. I guess it was early 19. That was like
the first year I went.
Yeah, probably.
It was 20, but
no, it was 20 the first year you went because this thing had a 1J.
Yeah, you're right.
So 2019, when I went, before I was even a driver, I didn't even know I could drive. I was like, this is fucking sick. I want to do this. These guys are cool. This whole atmosphere is where I want to be. Like, all my friends do it. I want to do this right now. And Mike Harrison, he had always been, I mean, what was your nickname?
Mad Mike, Mixmaster Mike.
No, with the 240, when you're doing the burnout in front of Subway.
Mike Drift King Harrison.
Mike Drift King Harrison. So he had multiple 240s before he had an IS.
Currently Mike Harrison's garage.
Yes, sorry, this is Mike's garage. Mike had 240s, but all of us getting is300s ended up bringing one into Mike's garage as well, and he beat me to it. He was making more money than me, had a lot more free time, a lot more drive, so he got his car all set up to drift, and we actually we drove his car to that event that I'm talking about. We street drove it and drove it back, and I knew right then and there, riding with him, seeing how quickly he was able to pick it up after not doing it for a while, I thought, I can do this. I want to do this. So it took about 2 months for me to gather my money. I had just graduated school. I was a new service advisor at a Toyota dealership, and I was making decent money for my age, and I saved some money and thought, I want to make this thing a drift car. Not full blown, but I'd like to still be able to drive it. First thing we did was put the welded diff in. So I was very skeptical, never driving with a welded diff before. I was asking Mike, like, dude, am I gonna, like, is this gonna blow up on the way to work? I do highway speeds, dude, like, I can't do this, you know? I knew nothing. Threw the welded diff in, and then we put the angle kit on, because this was pieces. Mike was doing this at like 5 o'clock at night until 1 a.m. and then I'd go home and we'd go to bed and go to work the next day. We were banging this out trying to get me ready for this event. It was insane. We put the Easy Knuckle kit on, which I do believe was on backwards the first time. Yeah, so did that.
First time for everything.
Mangel's over here. Mangle drove, I don't know, an hour down here just to help us slave on this car.
Those are the best moments, dude.
I'm telling you, my Snapchat memories from like 2019 on, it's nothing but the best time of my life.
It is sick, dude.
I ordered a Figs Hydro kit, same one that's in Mike's car. Mike put that in, super clean install. We'll actually be changing that shortly here, but for the past, whatever, 2023 now, so a few years that we've had it, it's been nothing but great. I mentioned I didn't have a parking brake in this thing. That was my acting parking brake for a little bit, give or take. But once that was in, we put a bucket seat in it, and I was ready for my first event 4 days before the event. I mean, it wasn't long. This thing was ready just in time for the event. That was my first actual drift event. We ended up going up. We were just talking about this at lunch today. Our buddy Kip let us borrow his big Super Duty truck, dually on semi wheels with a 2-car trailer. So this car that's next to mine that you guys can't see and my car were sitting on the trailer like this for the 2-hour ride up to Evergreen, and it was the coolest thing ever. I wish we could, I mean, I hope we can replicate it sometime soon. But we got there, and it was actually my birthday. And I got in the car, and my fiance Drew was there. I wanted her in the car for a good bit. I can't thank Mike Smith enough for getting in the car with me my first run. He helped me figure out what the line was on Evergreen on the L track, and from there I just started repeating myself, hot lapping the car. Back in 2019, Evergreen wasn't anything close to what it is nowadays as far as waiting. So it was pretty quick. I picked it up very quick. At the time, the oval track at Evergreen was purely just an oval. There was no infield driving, so I didn't touch that. So I had 2 days straight of just driving the car on this L track, and I figured it out pretty quick, and had a great time. I noticed on the second day the car started feeling like it was a little down on power, and I thought, maybe it's just me getting used to the car. I don't know, because everybody thinks their car's super fast and like good, and then they get used to it. I was like, I don't know, that was a pretty drastic change. It happened in 24 hours. Well, the week we got back, I'm driving over to Mike's garage because I told him, I'm like, dude, this thing is down on power. And it was a GE car, so it probably made 170 horsepower. And I got about a mile away from his house, and the car died. And I called him, and I'm freaking out. I said, dude, I fucking told you. I knew it wasn't me. Like, something happened. And he's like, all right, we'll figure it out. Whose truck was it?
Kip's truck.
I knew it. So it was fucking Kip's
I
truck.
look out the window like Ace Ventura with a short chain.
Yes, a short chain. We fucking drug my car like a mile, and it's not a straight road. It's through mountains and twisties in the dark, like dips, hills. And this thing, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, this is my daily, dude. Like, I need this thing. I drive it. Well, anyways, it turned out the cat exploded and clogged up the exhaust, and I'm pretty sure it was in the manifold. It was the manifold cat, because we ended up replacing the manifold or headers, whatever you want to refer to the GE exhaust manifold as. But we replaced that. Mike replaced that. And that was good to go. And the car stayed like that for a few months. That was probably November of 2019. I posted a video of me gooning on a back road local that went pretty hard. I got pretty pretty good driving the car at that power level. At that Evergreen event, our buddy Zach Mangle actually took his driver's seat out and put Mike's driver's seat in and said, yeah, anybody that wants to drive to a certain extent can drive my car. And me, my first event, I hopped in Mangle's 1J car. It was a stock 1J car. But I hopped in there and I was able to link the L-track. Nothing special now whenever I'm talking about it, but at the time I was like, yeah, man, cool, did that. So I started getting pretty excited for a 1J. So Mike ended up grabbing one, and like I said, I had just gotten pretty good in my car, and he came to me and he called it. COVID started getting to be a thing, and he said, look, dude, if you don't get a 1J now, you're gonna regret it. It's not gonna happen. And sure enough, I'll put this in the video. Mike and I were super excited for a road trip. We were gonna go to JDM Engine Depot in Jersey. I'm putting this in, Drew and Kelly. We wanted to go so bad. We were like, yeah, man, it's gonna be a guy's day, getting 1Js. Like, can't wait. We were getting a Subaru engine for Mike's little brother, Dakota.
Our girlfriends thought the engines had COVID.
Our girlfriends thought the engines had COVID. So bad news. Didn't go and get a 1J. So I paid a little bit more to have it shipped to my house.
Video compression checking, and it was exactly
was
what they said.
Perfect. I was actually using Facebook, I believe, Facebook Messenger is where I was messaging these guys. But the engine was $1,800. Go ahead and look up a 1JZ VVTi with an auto trans right now, and you're not going to see one under $4,000. I mean, they're pushing $5 grand. Got this thing for $1,800. I think I paid $200 shipping to my house, so $2 grand total. And it, like I said, came with ECU and with the auto trans, and it sat there for a while. Not too long, but sat stagnant for a while because there was a lot to do. We wanted to reseal the engine while we were there, and custom swirl pot, got that neck custom fabricated by Justin Stauder at Neverlift Auto Fab. That was one of the first components. We had Justin fabricate the coolant bypass in the rear because they're known to pull out on 1Js, especially after being transported on a ship. It was, you're right, it was just a hole. Yeah. Other than that, we shipped the turbos out to Drift Motion, had them do an OEM billet upgrade on the OEM turbo. Yeah, Future Fab elbow downpipe to a full 3-inch exhaust. I had Justin Stauder fabricate me a vibrant muffler and a straight pipe, and when we picked the car up, it had the vibrant muffler on it. It sounded beautiful. Took it, got tuned with the vibrant muffler on it. Beautiful. Like 3 days later, I took the vibrant muffler off and put the straight pipe on, and I was like, yeah, I just want to hear what it sounds like. I'm not going to be a douchebag. I just want to know what it sounds like. I haven't touched the vibrant muffler since. Just a straight pipe 1JZ. I'm not about straight piping, you know, like NA cars or anything like that. But this car is just, it's wonderful. So I do still have the vibrant exhaust. That honestly, I'll be honest with you, it's probably going to go back on like within the next few weeks.
Oh.
I'll get into that.
Oh.
So we're going to quiet things down. It stayed like that for a while. We once we did all the maintenance and got everything fabricated, got it in the car. It was a stock W55 transmission, being a factory 5-speed car. My transmission never had issues. It shifted fine, relatively low miles. I did a Link G4 Plus ECU, which is made for a GE car, 5-speed car, but it works with a 1J swap. Factory custom harness. So Mike Harrison, he worked his magic on the factory harness for that setup. Had to do some extending, and it was tight, but it worked. It was a miracle. The car started, the car ran great, didn't have any issues. When I went to get it tuned, I went to Freedom Motorsports in Westchester for the first tune. Had some issues when it came off the dyno with the throttle body. These throttle bodies are part electronic, part manual throttle bodies, and we're thinking there was just some resistance or something in the throttle body that was causing issues, and it would actually go into like a limp mode. I know Mark and Matt Panic would yell at me if they heard me say limp mode, because there is no such thing as limp mode on a Link ECU, but it would kill all throttle response and pretty much just idle. But we got that figured out. We had to turn off all fail-safes. So my first setup on this car with a 1J had absolutely no fail-safes on it. Anything could have happened at any point. But we didn't think about that. It was fine. Still on pump gas at the time, stock injectors, stock fuel rail. was basically just like a factory 1JZ, and it was wonderful. It sounded amazing. It drove amazing. The first day I brought it home, I painted Lewisberry black with tire marks. I went everywhere. I texted all my friends. I said, check this shit out. It was just fucking line to line, and stock 1JZ, I was like a little kid. It was amazing. It was, I mean, I still watch videos of this car with the stock simple setup, and I think, like, god damn it, I miss that. I wouldn't mind another one, just stock 1J.
Yeah, man.
I drove a few events at Evergreen. I went to Pocono for one event. That was very humbling because I mean, I had a lot of confidence at Evergreen. That was a very fun track to invite your friends and family to, because you look like, it's easy to look like a rock star at Evergreen.
Yeah.
It's good. But then as soon as I went to Pocono, I thought, oh, all right, I got some learning to do. I figured that out now, and I will say the stock Trans W55 did not last long. I had fourth gear for probably 2 weeks. So I had first, second, third, fourth did not exist, and then all of a sudden third started popping out a lot. We're on decel. So I was confident in first and second and fifth, and that was a problem. So I started looking at, you know, transmission swaps and talking to Mike about it and figuring it out. And if you haven't realized by now, Mike is the builder of this car. As we get through it, you'll figure that out. I just drive.
Mike will show his face.
Yeah, we'll have Mike say hi in a bit. We decided that it was time to look at doing some needed upgrades. We enjoyed the car for about a season and figured out that it worked, so it was time to make it better. And that's when we started on cheat code. I decided to go with a brand new CD00A from Nissan, and got that heavily discounted because I worked at a dealership at the time, so thanks for that, Nissan. Slap that in there with a Fish Racing adapter,
Serial 9 shifter.
Serial 9 shifter, and got a custom drive shaft made from Machar Drivetrain in Harrisburg, just a small shop.
Tilt and throttle bearing.
But they did it, yep, tilt and throttle bearing. Other than that, that was it for the drivetrain. At this point, I did leave this part out. It's got all adjustable arms, mostly Godspeed from eBay, but I didn't have Serial 9 money back then, so, but they work. I still had the same coilovers on the car from when I dailied it, just the regular factory BC Racing VR series coilovers. They worked like a charm. I mean, the car would definitely squat, but I didn't have it on its nuts, so it worked out just fine. It looked pretty sick, three-wheeling in Evergreen, so that was cool. Well, I should have said this back when I was talking about it, but on my way to school one day, my passenger front wheel well, plastic wheel well, collapsed, and it took the whole fucking headlight and windshield wiper harness with it, and it rubbed
Shorted it out too.
Oh,
So
wow.
the wipers were stuck on power
like
all the time.
That's annoying.
4:45 in the morning. I'm driving with my wipers on high, dude. They're just fucking wigging out. My lights are going on and off.
It had to have been like 30 degrees that
This
evening.
happened while you were driving.
While I was
Yeah,
driving
this
with
morning.
Zach and Alex in the car,
You were probably just like,
on the way to UTI, I was
took
like,
it back,
what the
right?
fuck? Oh, I got right off the highway, took
Yeah.
it back, and I parked it in the exact same spot we left in. Left there all day. I called Mike and I said, dude, I'm fucking killing myself. I need your help.
that's awesome, dude.
That's the only problem I ever had with this car.
Yeah.
That's it. And I forgot about the whole looks of the car. So yeah, this thing was stock body for that whole first generation of the stock 1JZ. And it had the same Evo wheels on it. It didn't change. It looked like my daily driver, just with a 300 horsepower 1JZ in it. I went on Facebook Marketplace the one day. I was bored and came up in my recommended. It is a rep kit, is a BN kit. Was already painted graphite gray, my color, for $400, about an hour away.
It's a no-brainer.
Hit up the guy that morning, and I went and bought it that night with one of my coworkers, Aiden. We went down together and picked up a body kit, and whenever I got there, I convinced him to sell me his wheels. They were Kansai tandems, 18 by 9 plus 15s or something, whatever. They look good. They paint match the car. I'm a sucker for that. Bought that, so I came home, and actually, I didn't put it on the car right away. We waited till Sunday because that's when Brothers Pizza still had the Sunday 7 o'clock meets. And Aiden and I came here when Mike wasn't here at like 5 o'clock at night, slammed out this body kit install, which was all zip ties. It's all ever been, just zip ties, which is the way to go. And threw the wheels on, drove it to the car meet, and it was a hit. It was sick. It was awesome. The car looked good. Didn't look like a stock is300 anymore. The wheels poked out so far, and it was terrible. But that was it, and the car wore that for a while. I was scared to go to an event with the kit on. I didn't want it to explode, so every time I'd go to an event, I would then take the kit off, put the stock body components back on it. I wouldn't drift with big wheels, and that was that. But then I started doing the transmission and everything I was talking about, and I put the kit back on. I got these Asker Garage front fenders. They're plus 30 mil. They're fiberglass. Honestly, probably going to go soon. I'm probably going to go back to factory fenders. I like the look of Don Musk, but I just want to kind of go back to just stock body. I never really did anything with the rear quarters. They're pulled and pinched, but nothing aggressive. My fiance Drew bought me the mirrors. They're fakes. They're GK Tech. I think they're actually R32 mirrors. Behind doors. They look great though, and I have a local guy that does all my body work as far as painting goes. Shout out Todd. I then went and got a retune after getting the Link G4X. I upgraded to a Link G4X. So I hit up Mark and Matt Panic at Panic Wire and inquired about getting a full custom engine harness made for my car. And those guys, I can't give them enough credit, can't shout them out high enough. I mean, they're the best people I've ever worked with. The customer service is unreal. They have the most odd hours ever. I had my notifications on for them, and Mark would hit me up at 2 a.m. and I'd email him back because that's what worked for him, and I didn't care as long as, you know, I was giving them the information they needed. They were super easy to work with. Panic Wire has a very, very, very long lead time. I waited a long time, but it's worth it. I've had a lot of people hit me up before and ask me if it's worth it, and yes, it is. Between the customer service and the quality of work, and anytime we've ever needed anything, they're very quick to get back to us and give us what we need. Again, had to go get a retune. Went to Freedom Motorsports in Westchester again for a retune, and I at that point had added the ID 1050 injectors with the
Radium fuel rail,
fuel
pressure regulator,
and the fuel pressure regulator, and decided to go E85, and I made about the same power. So that was concerning. Didn't know why. I wasn't expecting a bunch of power, but I made about the same power almost to the T. But now the car is on E85 with upgraded injectors, fuel pump, rail, regulator, everything. I mean, it should have been making a little bit more power. Again, Mike and I made a lovely trip to Red Robin, and I'll tell you what, these Red Robin trips are, if you know, you know, you gotta be there. We went to Red Robin, and I'm quite upset. Mike's quite upset. I immediately went on to, I don't remember where I bought it, but I bought a Tile 38mm external wastegate, and the stock wastegate for these 1Js, Mike had a problem with his as well. They're prone to failure, so I went and bought a 38mm external wastegate, and again had my buddy Justin Stalter at Neverlift Auto Fab fabricate me a recirc tube right back into the Future Fab downpipe. Sounds wonderful. It looks amazing. I took it to John Kerr, JK Tuned in Carlisle, and had him tune it just this past summer, and it made about 350 wheel horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque. So it's sitting nice and happy around 350, which is good enough for me. Car is snappy, it feels great. But as I said in the beginning of the video, this is no longer a drift car. This is now my ice cream movie night, beautiful sunset car that I want to take care of for a while. Not necessarily the car. Mike and I had also discussed this, that the chassis might not be forever. We bought this in Jersey. We nicknamed the car Snooky because every time we take a part off, sand would fall in our eyes. And we're like, oh god. So this is Snooky. We're gonna get rid of Snooky, and I'm gonna try and find a clean shell, put everything in it, and call it quits, because this is definitely a car that I want to be in forever. I love this chassis. So we'll have Mike introduce himself and go over a few things, but we got some more fabrication to get done, and some other small things, but nonetheless big things coming. This started at my last event in Pocono after my shifter pulled out of the threads, which is also in one of the SVG videos. Yeah. That pissed me off. So we sat in my enclosed trailer while it downpoured, and Mike and I got together and thought, okay, well, since the car's done, this is the last event of the year, let's figure out what we're doing over the winter time. So
It was supposed to be a couple things turned into thousands of dollars, and I don't know, over 40 hours probably in labor.
yeah.
We addressed the stock subframe bushings from excessive with some of their poly bushings, the diff bushings from excessive with some of their poly bushings, rear upper control arms from excessive, tow rods from excessive, traction rods from excessive, all stuff that was already Godspeed, but it was time to kind of grow up with that and put more quality stuff on. Subframe was rusty to begin with, so we put a new subframe in. We had, Figs has some reinforcement brackets for the subframe and around the diff. The JZX 100s have been, apparently have spit out diffs out of the subframe, so we didn't want any of that. We already had these, we just made sure all the pads were in check, but we put some new brake hoses on the rear calipers, just some freshies, so we didn't rub through anything. Yeah, stop tech pads. Everything was great on the Willwood 4-piston dual calipers. They've been perfect from Figs from day one. Up in the front, we checked on the pads on the LS400 4-piston front calipers, and it looks like we never used them. So we put some new hoses on them.
Just skipped out on a lot of things. We did the LS400 brake calipers back with the first Evergreen event. I completely forgot about that.
There's so many little things.
It's
been a lot.
Essential. Like I said when I bought the car, it had beautiful purple calipers on it with red stickers, and I miss those dearly. I hope they're doing well.
The BC BRs were great, but Cory's driving was greater, so we decided to let Cory spend a bunch of money, and he got the external reservoir two-way BC ERs, and we upped the spring rate somewhere around 14 and 16, was it?
Yeah, there's 16 up front. There's 16K springs up front, 14K in the rear. A lot of guys would say that's not quite stiff enough. It's not as aggressive, but I street drive the car a lot more than I'd ride it on track. And again, people might be like, oh well, I street drive my car with stiffer springs, but I don't care. The car is so comfortable, and it still feels like an is300 back whenever they came off the line, and I couldn't be happier with what I chose.
Just a little before that time, Cory spent like over $3,000 on some really nice refinished VSKFs. They're big, they're nice, they're in great condition.
Shout out Frankie for selling me the pair of 17s as well that I don't use. They'll just sit there and look good.
They fit the car really well. We went into the interior just a little bit. Everything was pretty fine there, but we put in a factory is300 GPS in the center area above the radio, and we put 3 AEM gauges in there, some X series.
I love that.
You key it on, it flips up automatically. You can tilt it, you key it off, it closes up, so it doesn't look ricey when you don't want it to, and if you want to close it, you can close it. A little bit before that, we didn't really mention, Cory and I had a pair of charge speed hoods shipped from Japan. That was easily a 6-month wait, and it was very much worth it. Came up to the front, we did steering rack bushings, we did front lower control arm bushings. Anything that needed addressed or could have been addressed was addressed. We decided we would go with the new Koyo dual pass radiator. They had just dropped that year. Nobody had really bought those yet. Really nice. Cody Seller shaved off the filler cap here since we have the swirl pot from Justin. We don't really need that anymore. Made us a really nice lasered out fan shroud with some real beefy spout fans. No more hacked up stock fans to clear the intercooler pipes. It's also kind of time for a catch can. So we went with, since we lost the factory fan shroud, we needed a coolant overflow and a catch can. So Cody lasered us out these, Cody made us a catch can and a coolant overflow bottle, also lasered out. That went in the battery location from the factory. It's perfect. He also welded fittings on the valve cover for us before Cory got them powder coated.
Deers poop when they get hit. You didn't know that. They poop.
They have loose valves.
A deer hit me one time in my Cobalt. I don't know if you remember the Cobalt. I drove that for like a little bit at school. Deer hit me in the Cobalt, and I had my back windows down, and the shit flew in my back seat. It was just sitting there. And when the insurance agent came to look at the damage, there was just a pile of deer shit in the back seat.
One thing I did want to mention though, it's getting a little bit close to dark, and we have a pretty good driveway here, and a car that could use a warm up. If we have time, we should definitely go out and touch on that.
Yeah, we did. If you want. I've recently added this Nardi wheel. I actually got this steel. We got the Gauge Art can gauge. Shout out Mark and Matt Panic hooking me up, getting that all set up, so that's beautiful. I can use an app on my phone to change stuff. Over here we have the air fuel ratio. That's at the factory location for one of the HVAC vents. As you can see on that side, there's one, but we've deleted it. Up here we got oil pressure, water temp, and oil temp. And yeah, got a Greddy weighted shift knob down here. When we were starting to do the first
What the heck? I get it.
part of the car, yeah, if you look under here, that's my Optima battery. We got these here just in case I put spares in the trunk, just so that the tires don't collapse. But that's my red top Optima battery. So right here we connect the circuit, and that gives the car power.
Oh, nice. I
So
get it. Yeah.
we can disconnect power at any time. So
Matt, if you want to watch me key it on, I can show you.
Yes, we forgot about the underglow too. She's in party mode now. Mike's going to share with you guys some of the differences between his and Cory's cars. They're pretty similar, but Mike's engine bay is just a little bit cleaned up because it's Mike's car and he's just been able to put more time into it. So Mike's going to tell you that stuff now.
Basically, we relocated the ECU into the glove box, and the wiring harness is Matt Panic wire. I can't thank him enough for that because that's the only reason that's even possible. Tons of body harness modifications. We got the intercooler pipe to come through the inner fender here in the front.
Biggest visual thing is that these two corners he has the fuse box and the wiring. It's just right in your eyes. Fuse box, wiring.
Say, you want to go over to the passenger side?
Yeah.
Kind of show you that.
You can show me ECU.
So if you look here in the glove box, you can see ECU, that's the same link as in Cory's car. No HVAC box, so it all fits behind there. Mark made me a really custom harness that's super nice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We went with the AIM dash from Link, the 7-inch version, and Mark as well helped me to get everything straight with that. He's gonna help me get the fuel gauge right. We're gonna get the speedometer working. No more gauges up here anymore, so we had to spend on the pocket. Otherwise, went with some Evo 8 Recaros, just to kind of keep it a little more street car. Typical black leather door cards, as we do in all these cars. Black leather back seat, same as Cory's, that's the only way we do these. And a personal steering wheel instead of a Nardi, kind of a Nardi relative anyway.
Yeah.
But
these stickers are sick. This like Blitz
otherwise,
sticker.
kind of stock.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed the big ass burnout, we forgot to kind of do that after because we just threw the car back in. But I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know Cory enjoyed doing it because he hasn't done it in a while. But drop a like if you like that. Don't forget to subscribe. We upload almost every Wednesday. We used to be weekly Wednesdays. Now we're kind of every other. Just kind of trying to make the best content we can for you guys. Thank you for Mike and Cory coming. Hopefully get them on the channel more in the future. Obviously, because
damn.
Yeah, boys. Have a good one.
Thanks. That was good.
Dude, that was actually
Good
a lot.
stuff. That was sick. That was funny. Yeah. Good shit. Who's that guy?
Hi, honey.